The first time I saw her, I was sure I was hallucinating. It was a routine survey mission on the fringe of the Carina Expanse, a sector known more for cosmic debris and rogue satellites than for life. I was floating in the observation bay of the starship Argus, scanning a derelict mining station for salvageable components when a flicker of movement caught my eye. She was standing in the shadows of the collapsed observation tower, framed by the cold blue light of a distant nebula. The human brain tries to rationalize such things, and mine did. A projection? A hallucination? A simulation glitch? None of it explained the uncanny familiarity I felt as my sensors registered her biosigns, completely alien, yet somehow resonating with something inside me. She stepped forward, and the ship's automated scanners hissed in protest. The readings were impossible. Humanoid in shape, yes, but her body shimmered with a faint bioluminescence, her skin a silvery gray patterned with luminescent markings that shifted like liquid. Eyes gold and immense, they seemed almost too intelligent, too aware. Then she spoke. Her voice was low, melodic, and somehow disarming. "Daniel," she said. My heart stopped. "Excuse me?" I asked, voice trembling. My mouth was dry. "You know me," she said, tilting her head, the luminescent patterns across her skin pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat. "Do you not remember me?" I laughed nervously. I don't even know your name. Or who you are." Her smile was small, almost wistful. "That is because you were not meant to remember." "Not yet." I frowned. My rational mind screamed that this was absurd. Yet every fiber of me felt drawn toward her. Something ancient, something buried deep within my memory, or perhaps my soul, reacted to her presence. It was as if a forgotten melody had started playing, and I could only recognize the rhythm. It started with a simple request. She asked me to follow her onto the station, to explore parts of the structure that had been sealed off for decades. She moved like water, silent and fluid, while I stumbled along behind her, unsure of whether I was being invited or led into a trap. The interior was a ruin. Metal girders twisted like skeletal fingers, wires hanging like veins from the ceiling. Panels flickered, indicating partial power. Yet she navigated it effortlessly, her presence illuminating the darkness in a way that made me feel safe. Finally, she stopped in front of a room, a small control hub that had been untouched by scavengers. She pressed her hand against the console. The panel hummed and accepted her touch, lights dancing as if recognizing a long-lost owner. Then she turned to me. "This place, this is where it began for us," she said softly. Froze. "Us? I don't understand." "You will," she replied. Her voice carried a gentle insistence, like the tide slowly eroding a cliff. "But first you must trust me." I wanted to ask how I could trust someone I just met. I wanted to scream that this was impossible. But the resonance I felt, the pull of recognition, overpowered fear. He nodded. The story, as she told it, began centuries ago. Not in the human sense, but in a cosmic sense where time was relative. She was a traveler, a collector of knowledge and memories, able to encode experiences across generations of beings. I had met her before, she said, long ago, during one of my earliest voyages beyond the solar system. My mind, human and short-lived, could not retain the memory, but she had remembered. "You were curious," she said, smiling faintly. "Fearless, reckless, eager to touch the stars." I remembered none of this. And yet, when she reached out, brushing a glowing hand against my arm, the sensation was familiar, comforting, like a long-forgotten lullaby echoing across decades. "You spoke my name," she said, "and I remembered yours. That was how I knew you would survive the trials to come." I wanted to argue that this was impossible. That memory wasn't transferable across species, across centuries. Yet here she stood, undeniable, alive, and speaking words that resonated with the deepest parts of my mind. The next challenge came quickly. She led me to a sealed vault buried beneath the station, a chamber containing relics of a civilization long gone. Energy surged along the floor, designed to incapacitate intruders, or perhaps test them. Her skin glowed brighter as she passed through safely, while I hesitated at the threshold. "You have to trust yourself," she said. "The trial is not against me or the relics, it is against your doubt." I swallowed hard, stepping forward. The energy hummed and flared, but somehow, guided by her presence, I navigated it. Step by careful step, I reached her side. She took my hand, warm despite the bioluminescent shimmer of her skin, and together we accessed the vault. Inside lay artifacts, not weapons or gold, but knowledge. Crystalline structures pulsed with history, maps of the galaxy, encoded memories from species long extinct. She gestured to one and placed her hand over it. "This is why I sought you. You were meant to witness this, to understand." I stared at the glowing archive, overwhelmed. "Why me?" She smiled, eyes glowing. "Because you remembered even when you could not. Because you are human. And humans, they see the impossible and try anyway." I realized then that the recognition, the sense of being known, was not just about memory. It was about connection, about resonance between beings across time and space. For hours we worked, deciphering the archive, her teaching me to see patterns I had no instinct to notice. Through her guidance, I felt my mind expand, not just in knowledge, but in understanding, of the universe, of life, of choice. Outside the vault, the station was stirring. Sensors indicated approaching vessels. Others, less benevolent, had tracked her. "We have little time," she said, urgency sharpening her voice. "They will not allow me to continue my work if they find us here." I didn't hesitate. "Then we leave. Together." She nodded, trust evident in her gaze. Together we navigated the corridors, avoiding detection, moving faster than I ever thought possible for a human. When we reached the docking bay, she paused. "Daniel," she said, "you could have fled. You could have left me to protect only yourself." I looked at her, breathing hard, adrenaline coursing. "And missed the chance to see the universe properly." "No." Her eyes softened. "You are different. That is why I speak your name like we are old friends. Because, in a way, we are." The enemy vessels arrived just as we prepared to leave the station. Their sensors flared, energy weapons charging. But she stood calmly, stepping forward. Her skin glowed brighter, pulsing with an intensity that warped space subtly around her. I realized then that she was not only knowledgeable but powerful, more than any human or alien I had encountered. Yet she did not fight recklessly. Instead, she created a corridor of light, bending perception, making us invisible to the attackers' targeting systems. The human mind tries to calculate probabilities. Hers exceeded them. "We cannot stay here," she said. "But your presence, your courage, allowed me to access what I could not alone. You have changed everything." I nodded, heart pounding. "Then let's go." We boarded her vessel, leaving the derelict station behind. The galaxy stretched out before us, endless, unknowable, yet somehow intimate. In the days that followed, she shared more of her story. She had traveled countless civilizations, observed species rise and fall, always seeking, always remembering. And through it all, humans had stood out. Not for strength, not for longevity, but for adaptability, for persistence, and for courage even in the face of incomprehensible odds. "You are remarkable, Daniel," she said one evening as the stars streaked past the hull. Not because of what you have done, but because you chose to be seen, to act, to remember even when your memory is flawed. That is why I spoke your name as if we were old friends. I realized then that meeting her was more than chance. It was fate, or at least something that felt like fate. Something the universe itself had orchestrated across time and distance. Months later, we returned to human space. She left me at a secure station, promising to return. She vanished into the stars, but the resonance remained. The sense of being known, being remembered, and being trusted. I continued my work, changed. The mundane tasks of surveying and repairing starships no longer felt insignificant. I had seen what it meant to connect across worlds, to impact a being older than humanity itself. And every time I heard her voice in my memory, saying my name like we were old friends, I was reminded of a universe where recognition and trust could span centuries and species. Because in the end, that is what she taught me. That even in a galaxy so vast it could swallow civilizations whole, a single human act of courage, of trust, of attention could echo across the stars. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to change everything.